game offensively, 22, 8 boards, 8 blocks even. Is this really kind of what can happen for you if you don't get a couple early fouls and you're able to really stay on the court?
Yeah, I just got to concentrate on working early, not letting my man get the ball so he won't have a chance to attack me so I can get foul trouble. So I have to start working early and working smart.
Even in a loss, is there a lot that you can take away, at least from an individual standpoint, having a great game like that?
Yeah, I can see what I did right, and I can also go back and watch film and see what I did wrong and what I can improve on. So I'm looking forward to getting with the coaches and watching film and seeing what I can improve.
And what's been so hard for this team sometimes? You guys have a lot of energy in the first half. You'll sometimes go into the locker room with a lead. And that first part of the second half, it's just a little bit lethargic.
It just comes with growth. We're a young team. I think we get settled when we go into halftime with a lead. But it just comes with growing pains, So we'll get better at it.
Yeah, you had a career high 8 blocks today. Obviously, career high 22 points, but everyone knows you can score. Coming with the mindset that kind of been in foul trouble all season. 8 blocks to talk about the defensive effort to get that and be able to stay in the game.
Well, I watched tons of films on how I fouled in the past. So today I just worked on going straight up, not chopping down at anybody coming to the rim, and just limiting my man's touches so he won't be able to put me in foul trouble.
I think a lot of times when you get the ball, it's pretty hard for anybody to stop you individually, and now sometimes they start throwing help your way. Is that sort of another thing that you're always looking to improve, is passing out of the double team, not turning it over in that spot?
Yes, sir. Our assistant coach, JJ, worked with me on crab dribbling out, giving the pass fakes, faking the pass to making the pass. So I just got to translate that over to the game.
Well, one of the things that we're learning is what can happen in conference play. And quite frankly, first of all, you got to give credit to Northern Kentucky. John and I talked over the summer with Coach Brannon just about, the growing pains and setting the culture of a new program. And he was a nine-win coach last season. He talked about, being exhausted by January with all of the work that goes into, retooling the program. As you fast forward and you see the growth that he's having through his really young roster, it gives you a sense of hope, that again, as you continue with that roadmap yourself, your team will grow in those ways. I had some disappointments, unfortunately, because we played such great basketball in the first half, not only taking care of the basketball, with the only real Achilles heel being offensive rebounds in that first half, where our whole issue right now is sustainability of focus on the defensive end. And when we can put together consecutive stops and get out in transition, we're a really good team. We're very difficult to score. There's multiple pushmen. There's multiple guys that could be a threat at the rim, driving and shooting step-in threes. But again, we are still working through the process of shifting the mindset from falling in love with offense, versus understanding the defense and rebounding wins games. And so we had a stretch there in the second half around the 15-minute mark to at least a 13-minute mark where consecutive threes were given up by Northern Kentucky on an action that we practice quite a bit because they don't have a deep playbook. And so to see guys, just run right into screens, or rotate late was a little disheartening. And I'm sure when our guys see that with a 3-possession loss, it's going to grab their attention. Now, my message to the team is simply this: don't let one game beat you twice. And so we got to learn quickly from this, as we prepare for Wright State on Saturday.
Is there a correlation that you see where you guys are playing well in the first half, as you say, the ball is talking, and then as the score starts to shift, is there a little bit more one-on-one play and the ball movement kind of comes to a halt at times?
I think there's a little bit of my turn basketball, that takes place. And what it is a lack of understanding of what helped you build the league. Ball movement, player movement, screening, things of that nature. And what happens is it's really well-intentioned behavior, in the sense that guys are trying to take it upon themselves individually to bring us back. And what we talked about in the pre-game, a conversation is winning possessions. And one of the things about winning possessions has a lot to do with execution. And execution of understanding the nuances of a play. We had a couple guys, moving to the wrong spots, so, talk about focus, has to improve. And then the last part of things is we have to also be mindful of how getting stops, only, fuels, good offensive opportunities because, again, it's a game of possessions.
Do you think in the first half that was about as energetic, as sharp as Chris Jenkins has looked all year?
Oh, without question. I thought Chris Jenkins had a tremendous first half. I mean, the lion's share of his points was scored there. And the reality, the reality is he was able to generate a lot of that within the flow of what we do. In the second half, as they tried to eat up the space and run him off the line and force him to get to the basket, I think that's when you have to become not only a better screener, you got to get to that offensive glass more. Last game, he had 16 rebounds. Today, he had 6. He's one of the better offensive rebounders in our league, but there was a lot of ball steering going on tonight when others were shooting. And, anytime you have, Corey Allen or Josh McFarley missing a few, those are opportunities for us, to get those misses, and we missed, in upwards of, almost 23 shots. So, there were opportunities there for us to get them. But, again, shifting that focus to other ways I can impact the game is another area of growth for all of us, regardless of the year.
Is this something that Corey Allen, now that he's entered conference play, going to have to get used to a little bit, where the nightly attention is really going to be heightened, and these other teams have seen what he's done out of conference, and, he's not going to sneak up on anybody anymore?
Well, that and Corey is going to understand, even though we tried to run him off multiple screening actions and things like that to loosen him up and free him up, the reality is all cuts matter now. Cuts with speed to create separation between him and his primary defender matters. Good use of a shot fake to create space. He did it at the end of the second half there, got a good clean look in the corner. And then the other thing that's important for Corey to grow in is, okay, he had 2 assists, no turnovers, but how can I continue, to create situations for myself by understanding the scouting report, getting in the passing lane, creating a chippy, not selling just for the jumper wholeheartedly and getting to the basket, which he tried to do in the second half. So all of those different things are important, and it will allow him to have the balance to his game, to complement that great jump shot that he has.
I'm curious, you've been coaching for a long time, you coached for a while at Michigan as an assistant. How is it different going home with a loss as the head coach? Is it a little bit harder at night? I mean, you're the one in the spotlight, and obviously this year, you guys have struggled to find victories.
Well, I think it's very important to understand the perspective that you have to have. Again, I say this ad nauseum. You have to stay process-driven. When you're trying to shift a group, most of whom which you hadn't had the opportunity to recruit, to a new approach, a new system and stuff like that, it's going to come with some bumps and some twists and some turns. I'm reminded of, a litany of coaches that, started with single-digit wins in our school history. I'm reminded of guys in our league in their first year, whether it's the head coach of UIC, whether it's John Brennan tonight, at NKU, that had single-digit wins. So, the challenge really only comes with wanting it so bad for the student athletes. Because those are the guys that have eligibility that expires if you're a senior. Those are the guys that also have to hear the brunt of it, especially if they're local guys, from, family and friends. So, for me, it's about going back to the drawing board and asking myself, how can I get this team better? That's the focus, and I got to make sure that us as a staff maintain a teaching tone in everything we're doing, just to maintain the hearts and minds of our group for a very long season. There's 18 games in conference, and there's still 17 more to go.
And how impressed were you with Jaleel's effort, especially on offense? Like you said, didn't foul out. He really wasn't in foul trouble the whole night. Is that what he's really capable of, 20-point, maybe a double-double guy, if he can stay on the floor?
Well, I think it's very important to note that his minutes played is married to his production. Because when you look at what his production would look like per minute, you know, if he was to play 40 minutes and I played him 35 today, I mean, it would be through the roof. It's the numbers that you saw today, 22, 8 blocks. I mean, it's unbelievable. But I think what Jaleel has taken a step forward in is accepting coaching. And he's learned how to work early. He had cited Coach Jackson working hard with him. Coach Kaler's done a good job with that position group. Coach Chapman. You know, we've all tried to take this, you know, collective approach to growing all the guys regardless of position so that they can, you know, not only, you know, cure the ills that give them fouls. What we told Jaleel is simple. Work early on defense. We're going to front the post. We're not bringing any double teams, okay? But also, let's make sure we clean up screening and what you're doing in terms of posting up. Because 4 out of his 5 fouls last game was on offense. Moving screens and bad post up.